Hey everybody, it's Jeffrey, Bangarang Bow Wow's dog training. Just got back from the sledding hill. Took a couple of my kids out. So while we were out there, my buddy Gage, Pawfessor Gage, posted a video about me reacting to one of my videos that I tagged him in, working with one of my clients. So I wanted to kind of reiterate and just explain kind of what I was thinking. I couldn't put tons of stuff into that video. I didn't want to get into every single little thing that I was doing. I didn't want to make the video super long and just with a lot of me. I wanted to show the dog working as the dog needed to work. So there's a few things he picked up on that I do or that I was doing that he didn't quite understand, or just giving me a little bit what I should do instead. And I'm perfectly cool with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I just wanted to make a video of reacting to him reacting to me. So just the backstory for this dog that I didn't really get into too much. His name is Rommel. I think he's like 3 years old. Mixed dog. No idea what kind of actual breeds he is. He was a rescue dog. His actual owner is on vacation in Europe, or they went backpacking or whatever, and they're kind of hippies and they kind of just took off. So it's actually her mom and dad that have the dog now. And I had met this dog probably last summer with the original owner, and I started her off and just kind of showed her what I did, and I worked with her just a little bit with Rommel, because Rommel even then was having a little fearful issues and stuff like that. So I wanted to just give her a little bit of information before she left, because at first she had Rommel, but then when she went over to Europe, then she brought Rommel down here. So up until recently, what had happened is that they were going for a walk at night, and it was the dad, the gentleman that was walking the dog, and they were around our post office, and this kid came up, and the kid had his hands in his pockets, and they were sitting there talking, and then all of a sudden the kid took his hand out of his pocket, and Rommel went and bit him. And I don't know where it came from, but the vet was thinking, or whoever, I don't know who said it, but they said, well, maybe he thought he had a clicker in his hand, which was really weird for me to hear, because and one thing that Pawfessor points out is, if a dog is afraid of a clicker, then you can use a different style of clicker. And there's a reason that I don't use a clicker at all, and I'll get into that. So he bit the kid. Rommel ended up spending 10 days in the Humane Society because of that bite, because they had no record of his rabies. After 10 days, they got the rabies shot, and it was all fine. But then there was also court proceedings that he had to go to, so they called me again to give them some help, some work with the dog. So if they had to go to court, then they could say, well, we've been working with the trainer, and so I had this video. This is actually like my second or third video, or second or third session with the dog. So this isn't the first time I'd ever met this dog. I just want to make that clear. So I had done previous work with this dog before this. I had already done foundation work inside the home. But let's get into the video, because this is a 21-minute video. I like your new intro, Paul. I really do. Hope it gives you hell. It gives you hell. I do want to say, well, like this. You see where my mouse is? This dog's head. I think it's too long of a neck. Is the only thing that I look at. I'm like, that dog's neck is really long. But yeah, so whatever. Yeah, and I don't think you've ever made a video reacting to positive reinforcement trainers. So yeah, I do have a mohawk. At least I have my OBS right here, so it's at least if I'm looking at this, you can kind of. Yeah, that's totally cool. Gage just texted me. Okay, so the thing was, he's gonna get on me about this camera. I'm holding my phone like this. I'm holding it at me. I can't. It's hard for me to do this and just, you know, it's if I'm holding a leash in my hand. Where's my leash? I just had one. If I'm holding my phone like this and I have the leash in my hand, it just feels better to me, or whatever, you know. So I'm sorry. I know the video is stupid. I know I should turn it sideways, and I do have a head mount and a chest mount that I could put my phone in. I just didn't have it that day, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna work this. So sorry. I know. Turn the phone. Okay, so I'll clarify here. This isn't the first time I'm establishing this marker. I've worked with the dog 2 or 3 times already, and was working. Yeah, I've already done this inside in a very low level, low distraction area. So that the reason why he's flipping back so quick when I say yes is because we've already done this. This was establishing it in other places, so generalizing it, or or taking it someplace else and letting him know that that marker means the exact same thing outside as it does inside. So I work with a lot of red zone dogs. They're not they're not as red zone as people make them out to be. It's totally situational. I worked with tons of aggressive dogs that just, I know trigger stacking, and yeah, it's not as big a deal as, I mean, to an uneducated person, someone that doesn't understand. Yeah, and that's one thing I wanted to say. Yes, that he is afraid of all clicking objects. Like I've literally used a pen. Like that pen doesn't click. Do I have a pen that clicks? I don't have a pen that clicks. But no, I've even used just a pen to click, and he bugs out and turns away. So yeah, I use the box clicker. If you can see my tattoo here, I use a box clicker. Try to get that into frame, whatever. So one of these things, I use a box clicker. The reason I use a box clicker the most is because I've used button clickers that have the protruding button before, and I actually started off using them. I have used the finger clicker. I can't remember where it is now, where that ring that he uses. It's like $5 though per. I use these because the button isn't protruding, and you have to have your thumb in it to be able to activate it, to click it. You can't accidentally click. And I I have accidentally clicked with button clickers before, and I just really want, if you're going to click, I want you to know that you're clicking. I want you to be proactive with it, and I want to try to work for 100% as much as I possibly can. So I don't want any errant clicks. Which is also why I tell people, do not give these to kids, because it's freaking, that's fun to do. Whatever, yeah. So yeah, that's why I'm using the yes word, and why I'm saying it is because it's yes, 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 yes. You can say it, you never get tired of it. Blah, blah, blah. So right here, I say yes, and he doesn't respond to me because he has that smell. but I still put the treat down there. I want him to know that he's still going to get a treat no matter what, whether he's paying attention to me or not. My yes means you get a treat. And he did eat it while he was down there, so it was just even more reinforcing the sniff. Yeah, and that's what I wanted the most, is that dog makes his own decisions, that he can get close. Because the big thing I didn't want leash frustration. I didn't want the yes. That is my invention, totally. I think I always use long lines. I'm be a millionaire off of long lines. All my clients get told about long lines. I don't walk my dogs. The only time I will put a 6-foot long leash on my dog is if I'm not even gonna hold it. Like, I at least use the 15 like I have in this video. Most of my clients, I sell 30s. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Just let them make their own decision. I don't want leash frustration. I don't want them to be able to go, wanting to go somewhere and feeling that pressure on their neck or on their harness or whatever. And I don't want to reinforce them thinking they need to pull. Yeah, so I did start in the home, so no worries there. So this video was really made for, a lot of it was for the client and what we were working on specifically, what I wanted them to work on. So I didn't want to throw in a bunch of other stuff, and there was stuff that client that I had already told them about. Obviously I made this video somewhat for my clients and just people. So you see, even there, even when I was using the marker word when I was talking, I still rewarded. I want 100%. I know. I get it. I understand. Gage, I understand. Phones go this way. But it was just easier for me to hold it like this and click and leash and all that stuff all at once. Well, I didn't have a clicker, but when I was walking with the dog, if I hold my phone like this with the leash, it's weird. I got my leash. Same leash. I didn't want to do that. I wanted just to be able to hold it like this. This is easier if it's coming out that way. If it's at me, I like holding it up here like this. So yeah, so right here, like I said, I stopped it because my buddy was across the street, and I was actually going to talk with him a little bit. And since he's on a 15-footer, Rommel does have the ability to go into the street, so I wanted to cut that off. Obviously I didn't want my conversation in this video as well, because Mike's personal, his space and his, his likeness and all that other stuff. But like, so what Rommel did see him, and I used a positive interrupter, meaning to get Rommel to come back over to me, and then when he did, yes. And then I really just sat there and I fed him while I was talking. I was just throwing treats down on the ground to keep him distracted, which did work, I believe, to show him that, oh, when strangers happen, or when someone's talking to me, then good stuff happens. So I'm working with the emotion of the dog, not necessarily the behavior, and we'll talk about that later as well. So Mike was over there by that black vehicle over there. Now I have watched this, so I'm reacting. Yeah, okay. Big thing there. My hand in the treat pouch. That is something that I do as a kind of an easy way to work it. So yeah, the reason I always have my hand in my treat pouch is just that, is to already have my hand on a treat when I use the marker. Because when I first started, I made a lot of mistakes when it came to having my hand out and moving my hand to go into the treat pouch, and then the dogs would mark off of that, or they would know, like I'd ask for a sit and then move my hand, and then they knew that they were going to get a treat, so they'd sit real quick. So I kind of got in the habit, or either if I don't have my treat pouch, I'll have my hands inside my hoodie, because I'm almost always wearing a hoodie, and I use the clicker inside my hoodie pocket or behind my back. I just try to keep my body movement down to a minimum. That's what I'm trying to do there. I do see that it could be the dog knows that it's going to get a treat if my hand is in there, but I will wait to make sure. I definitely ask for the behavior, or I see the behavior happening, I mark it, and then I deliver the treat. So it just cuts down on that time. I want to get that treat to the dog's mouth as quickly as possible, especially in these high distraction areas when this dog's walking around outside. I want that treat getting in there as quick as possible. So I'm not sure of the effectiveness either way. It does work for me, so I don't know. I just know my body language speaks to the dog, so I want to limit as much body movement as I can. Yeah, so that was the big part of this. Starting off, I just wanted to make sure he knew the marker meant what the same thing outside as it did inside. Yeah, I don't have to. I don't have to make a dog do anything for it to learn to do something. If it looks at me, it gets a reward. And actually, I think this was. I don't think I was just recording them on a regular phone thing. I think I was recording. I don't know. So yeah, but then I was obviously loading in some other stuff. So I was establishing the marker outside. When the dog looked at me, I wanted to reward him for that. I wanted to raise the value of me. And then yes, while he's talking, I am marking him for staying by my side, because I don't want what I call a yo-yo dog. I don't know if it's weird for me to be trying to talk over him. I just didn't want my video being super long, where I have to watch, because I can explain while he's explaining. I just don't know for you guys if it's annoying to try to listen to both at the same time. But yeah, so the main things I'm working with, like I said, establishing the marker. They live like 3 blocks from downtown, or 2 blocks, 3 blocks from downtown. So that whole 3 blocks, I was trying to establish a marker, just to let the dog know that this word means the same thing here as it does out there. And then I wanted the dog focused on me. If the dog's focusing on me, he's not focusing so much on everything else. If he's not focusing on everything else, he can't be afraid of anything else. And then just a little bit of leash skills. When the dog looked back at me, when the dog was walking by my side, I just want to kind of set up that reinforcement zone that if you're in this area around me, you're going to get a treat, and it's gonna fall like rain. It's a really awesome place to be. Yeah, I always have my hand in my treat pouch ready to give a treat. Because I don't want to stumble, I don't want to fumble trying to reach for something and the dog get disinterested and look away. I always want that.
There she is right there. Get information. She told you where it was, so they say they are.
I mean, I totally agree. Like, wait for what I tell my clients is, you can make me do something. I could make you do something. And if I'm in a position where you have to do it, you're going to do it. Are you going to do it again? Are you going to do it again later? A second time? A third time? Just by yourself? No, I'm going to have to make you do it every single time. It's not something that you want to do. I want to reinforce when a dog does it completely by itself. If my kids are cleaning their room by themselves and they're just picking stuff up because they want to, then I want to reward that because they're already getting reinforcement for doing it. It's something that they want to do. If I make them clean their room and then I take them out for ice cream, they didn't want to do it in the first place. So the payment is like, okay, awesome, but I didn't want to do it in the first place. So making something do a behavior and then rewarding them for it, it's not the most effective way. I don't believe. I want to wait for the dog to show the behavior that I want it to do, lure it, capture it, shape it, make it fun, and then reward it so it wants to do it more, not has to do it. Yeah, I was trying to get the dog to look that way. I was actually trying to get the dog away from me and just face pointed that way, so maybe he would look up. Didn't quite work. He was really happy with getting the treat and then looking back at me. I'm trying to see people. There was nobody walking downtown this day, which was, awesome. I didn't want like 50 people walking like all over the place where I'd have to be total head on swivel. But I was just kind of just waiting for people to come around. There was a cop up here in that parking lot. There's a little parking lot behind that park. Cop was moving cones around. So see, there's people walking this way. There's people coming from the other way. I was seeing if they were actually going to come towards us. So yeah, yes, my hand is in the treat pouch. Yes, it is. It's always in the treat pouch. I don't know if it's. I don't really know if it's that debilitating to the whole process. So I think the best work that I had with Rommel in this little thing was actually, yeah. So yeah, I'd worked on cum inside before. I did. I just didn't. I don't think I used the marker. Yeah, well, see, there was a kid. No, it was just a guy. There was another time when there was a kid that walked up too, so I wanted to create distance. But no, I'm really good at that. I control the situation. If there's a person walking by, I want to be at the lowest distraction level, lowest intensity possible. So I'm gonna back up. Yeah, I would. Over here. So Beth is giving her an ultimatum, but I'm almost positive she knows, and she's hiding you.
Okay, but I'm not the nice one. He is. Right. So you'll go for all your crying and all your. I will not. She's a brand. She don't know. She don't know. She's never been with him.
I'm trying my best, man. I'm trying. Carla, listen.
Yeah, and I'm working with what I'm thinking when I'm doing that. I want the dog's just reaction, not on a conscious level. I kind of think of it as like when you like go into a scientific experiment or something, like how does your brain, like neurochemicals, neurotransmitters, and how your brain reacts to a certain stimulus, like just on a micro level. That someone throws a picture in front of you of like flowers, and your brain will automatically just poof, and then you think about it, but your body will just react. Like if there's if there's a picture of a flower, and then there's a picture of Hitler, like your body will just immediately react to it on a subconscious level. So that's where I was trying to get every single time the dog looked. As soon as the dog looked, I got him a click. I marked it, and every time I look at this person, just on a subconscious level, it means good things happen right away. And I just wanted to kind of load him up for that. What I try to do later, and this was a whole session. I just really wanted to focus on that part. It's just every time you look at a stranger, something good happens. Don't even think about it. It's just boom, just knee jerk. I look at somebody, I like looking at that person. That's my way of thinking. So this is like the closest I got to a person at all. So there was that officer there. Yes, it does. And I do agree with that. I do understand. And when I work with a dog later, I think I could probably switch over to that. But like I said, I'm really just focusing on one behavior at a time. Yeah. So there was a gal that was coming out that I know. She's a hairstylist. So yeah, Yeah, we have thought about muzzle. I tell all my clients about muzzle training. That's just, I think a muzzle is the same type of tool as a kennel or a collar or a harness. It takes time to get them used to it, like physically used to it being on here, being on their neck, being a harness, or being in a kennel. And it's a great tool to, if a dog bites someone, then there's not a whole lot you can do after that. If it wasn't too bad or whatever, and like in Rommel's case, it's not super severe, but you can't train a dog that bites people. People just want to kill that dog. So putting a muzzle on it so that little bit can't happen. The dog can be afraid, the dog can be stressed, the dog can growl, the dog can lunge, but it can't bite. And every dog is in its life the potential for it having a muzzle put on it is very high. Every time it goes to the vet, like if your dog gets hit by a car or something and it goes to the vet, more than likely the vet is going to put a muzzle on your dog because it doesn't want to get bit. He or she doesn't want to get bit. So it's better to just have your dog conditioned to that muzzle. So when it sees a muzzle coming, it's like, oh, okay, awesome, I'm going to get cheese or something. The way the dog thinks about the tool is a big thing about it. I say that there's people that use shock and prong collars that their dogs get really super excited when they go to grab that prong or shock collar because of the fun that happens when they are wearing that tool. It's an aversive thing, and that's what people argue, is that, well, my dog loves it when I put on its prong collar. Yeah, because you're not hurting it anymore, and it only gets to have fun when that thing. So it's classical association. It's classical conditioning. The prong collar comes on, you actually get to go for a walk. It doesn't love the prong collar, it loves everything that happens after the prong collar. But muzzling is not an aversive thing, and I do use the Baskerville muzzle or the wire muzzle, so the dog can eat and smell and drink and whatever. It just can't bite. So I skipped ahead of here. Let's see what he's talking about. I just don't want. I've already been recording for half an hour, and I'm not planning on. Absolutely. I don't want my dogs to react. I don't want dogs to react. Yeah. So I agree with everything he said, and what I said later or what he says in another video actually, is that when he said he was making a video about me, he's like, well, what if I said bad things about you? I said, I kind of expect it. Well, I expect it not just because of who Pawfessor is and how he does, but if I'm going to put my video out there, I'm going to expect people to say, and this is why I use the long line, because he was super tangled up. I use long lines all the time. I'm really good with my long line. I use it with every dog. It's a good skill to have. So yeah, so this is just a day session. It was just a half hour, 45. I don't know how long of a video. I mean, so yeah, going to the end of the video. I said I did this part of the video just to show people that you can how to use the marker and the toy. He does point out that I could be potentially rewarding the dog for it jumping, which is kind of what I talked about earlier, like a yo-yo dog, a dog that thinks it has to jump up to be able to sit down to be able to get the treat, or the toy or the whatever. And so I'm working with, I try to just work with one behavior at a time. So if I'm working with drop, that's what I want to reinforce. If he jumps, he jumps. Trying to work 2 or 3 behaviors all at once, all at the same time. Yeah, and I understand. This isn't the best place for me to be doing any of this. This is for viewers, just to show them, okay, hey, how do my dog outside does not like treats. He wants to play. How do I do that? How do I use play as a marker? Boom. Same thing. You use the marker, you throw the toy. Use the marker, throw the toy. Use the marker, throw the toy. The anticipation that your dog feels to go get the toy and to run is where the dopamine and serotonin is flooding into your dog's brain. And then the release, oh, that's where the, and that's the way those chemicals work in your brain. It's not necessarily when it happens, the chemicals are flooding after you throw the toy. It's before, and then the release of them, as far as I know about neuroscience. But yeah, this is just something fun. After I done all that training with people, I wanted to make a really super fun and play with him. So if he was jumping up, he was jumping up. I can definitely work on that later. That's not the pivotal thing in this. I wanted, this is more for people than it was for training him at all. But yeah, for most people, and while this was going on, yes, I understood that I could have been reinforcing the jump. It wasn't like I didn't know, but I just wasn't focusing on it.
You're probably a very smart person. You got hooked on it, and now what are you now?
So now I'm using the actual tugging as the reward. Uh-oh, my kids are home. But, alright, so I'm going to stop this video here. Thanks, Pawfessor, I appreciate it. And I'm going to get this posted so maybe you can react to me reacting to you reacting to me. So, later.